Okay, good Wednesday evening, everyone. I am meteorologist Griffin Hardy in for Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice. He is still getting settled with with baby number 3. So once again, congratulations to Chris. He will be back most likely be back in studio tomorrow with all of the active weather that we have heading our way this weekend. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. Happening right now, not a whole lot actually. It's pretty quiet all across the Deep South. We're waiting on this potential winter storm to start moving in. Mostly, it'll start happening Saturday night and into basically all day Sunday is when we're looking at potential impacts across much of the upstate, northeast Georgia, and the western North Carolina mountains. And as of right now, that chance is already pretty good that we'll see at least some form of impacts from this. We're still, normally 3 to 4 days away. We have a general idea of what to expect, and we have a, usually a medium level of confidence that we'll get something. But this time around, it's pretty good confidence that we will get some form of winter weather this weekend. All of the signals are there. All of our long-range models are all basically showing they're all showing the same thing will happen on the large scale. But of course, with winter weather, and especially in the south, where you're usually on the borderline in terms of freezing temperatures, what really matters is what happens on the small scale. And unfortunately, small scale features in the weather world are really difficult to pinpoint any further out than 48 hours from a potential event. But that being said, in the big picture, the broader picture, the chances are definitely there that we'll get some form of winter weather with that high chance of a mix of snow and ice likely all across our area. So what we can tell you for now is with a reasonable level of confidence what type of precipitation we could be getting. And here's the map for that. So in the North Carolina mountains, it's a really safe bet that it'll be snow and mainly snow for almost the entire duration of the event. In the mountains, you've got colder temperatures, you've got higher elevations, and with this particular event, with the way the low is tracking to the south of the mountains, it's a pretty safe bet that Asheville, Hendersonville, Cullowhee, Franklin, all of these places that are north of that North-South Carolina state line, it's going to be snow and heavy snow at times. We certainly could be looking at pretty noteworthy snow totals. However, I will say this, because we're still kind of far out, 3 to 4 days in advance, it's hard to say with any noteworthy level of accuracy exactly how much snow we could get. So for those of you who may be hoping for specific snow totals, I just can't really give you that just yet because, in all honesty, our forecast models this far out are still kind of all over the place. Earlier today, we had the GFS kind of backing off a little bit on any sort of snow in the upstate, and then you've got the Euro saying it's going to go all out and be heavy snow all over the place. So I could show you that, but, I just don't want that to get kind of lost in the messaging. The main messaging we want to get across is that Sunday, we're potentially anticipating some hazardous travel conditions because places further down to the south, just along and just north of I-85, will get mainly snow and potentially some ice at times. Excuse me. So if anybody, if you're living in Greenville, if you're in Spartanburg, Clemson, Pickens, places like that, the main thing you need to know is that Sunday we could be looking at some potentially hazardous driving conditions. Saturday we should be fine because most of this won't get here until really after midnight Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then this will continue for most of the day Sunday, where we could be seeing a lot of these most significant impacts. And then further down to the south, towards Anderson, Abbeville, Hartwell, Elberton, it could be more of an icy mix than it will be a snowy mix, for lack of a better description. So those places that do see potential icing, as of right now, this is obviously subject to change, but we could be seeing, a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch of ice accumulations on roadways and on potentially power lines. And whenever that happens, there's definitely some chance that you run into some slick spots. It all depends on how far south this low is going to go and how far south that cold air will get pulled. But the potential is definitely there that we could see some icy impacts from this, especially, along and south of I-85, south of Greenville, south of Spartanburg, and going all the way up to that North-South Carolina state line. Pretty much everybody kind of within the path of this potential icy storm. So that's definitely, if there's anything else you need to take away from what I say tonight, if you have any plans to be out and about Sunday, you may want to hold off on that if it involves driving. Saturday, you're probably going to be fine, but Sunday is definitely the day you want to kind of avoid being on the roadways if you can. So let's time out the next 48 hours. Over the short term, really not that much is going to change. Overnight tonight, we'll see just kind of a gray, mostly cloudy sky. When you wake up tomorrow morning, still going to wake up to the 30s. Then tomorrow afternoon, we'll see more clouds than sunshine. Unfortunately, by 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we top out in the 40s and in the 50s. And this is a precursor to the main event, which will be happening this weekend. There's a chance that we could see some flurries tomorrow night up in the mountains. Basically, we just have enough upper level moisture and enough cold air for that. But I'm not really expecting much from this. And it'll only be the mountains, like near places like Cullowhee and Franklin and Asheville, that have that best chance of maybe seeing a couple flurries tomorrow night, but that's not really the main thing to be concerned with. And vast majority of us, I think, stay dry, so I'm just throwing in that 10% chance that it happens. If you have plans Friday, it'll be a pretty nice day, all things considered. We'll have a little bit of a northwest breeze, but the sun will be out. It'll be a nice day. So for tomorrow and Friday, weather's kind of cooperating in large part, so nothing really to worry about there. But then if we zoom the picture out a little bit more, Friday evening we'll have this area of low pressure that's consolidating over southeast Texas. And as this dips into the Mississippi Valley Saturday morning, it'll definitely be strengthening. And this is, one broad picture of what it might look like. Basically, this is the Euro that I'm showing now, the European model. And while all of the large-scale models are basically showing the same thing in terms of where the low forms in terms of the region, what really matters is, it's going to come down to a matter of 5 to 10 miles in terms of where exactly the low tracks. That'll determine exactly what type of precipitation and exactly how much of that precipitation we'll get. What we can say with pretty good confidence is the timing. We know with a pretty good level of confidence that the timing will stay the same, that it'll start to creep in Saturday evening. We'll start as a cold rain, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, and then that transition should happen mostly after midnight Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, it starts getting a little bit heavier. Sunday afternoon gets really heavy, especially in the mountains at times, where the snowfall rates could get pretty high up there. So Sunday afternoon, and then eventually by Sunday evening, it should start to lighten up a little bit. As that low curves up to the northeast, it'll be a nor'easter. It'll eventually become a pretty strong winter storm that impacts the northeastern seaboard Sunday night and into Monday. But again, for us here in the upstate, northeast Georgia, it'll be, and the North Carolina mountains, the most significant impacts from this will be Sunday and into Sunday night. It'll start Saturday night and then persist all the way into Sunday night. So, just a quick recap for those of you who are unfamiliar with the nomenclature regarding our winter weather alerts. Winter weather advisories will most likely be issued soon by the National Weather Service, and if you do get a winter storm watch, that probably won't happen until Friday, because usually by Friday is when, generally speaking, with winter storms, we have a good idea of snow totals. And usually, I think by Friday is when we'll be able to also show those snow total maps, as well as any ice accumulation maps. For now, I'm just kind of giving a broad range of any ice accumulations, which, as of right now, I'm saying it's 1/10 of an inch to around 1/4 of an inch, which is certainly enough to cause potentially hazardous conditions. So be mindful of that too. And then if we get a winter storm warning, that most likely won't happen until 24 hours before the potential event starts. So be on the lookout for that by Saturday morning, I think, is when we'll maybe get some winter storm watches winter storm warnings that are issued. So let's just recap the timing real fast. Saturday evening, it's mainly going to be dry before sunset. We'll get that cold rain that starts to creep in by around 9 p.m. across northeast Georgia, the upstate, and the mountains. And then that will most likely switch over to a wintry mix, sleet or freezing rain mixed in with the snow after midnight. It all really depends on what's happening in terms of the temperatures, because the difference between 33 degrees or 32 and 36, that can make a huge difference in terms of what type of precipitation you get. So for now, we're just saying that possibility is there, that we could get kind of this hodgepodge, this mishmash of different types of winter weather, especially starting Sunday morning. By Sunday morning, around sunrise, it'll most likely be heavy snow that we see in the mountains. That means areas that are just north of that South North Carolina state line. It'll be mainly snow, maybe a little bit of freezing rain, but mostly snow up in the mountains. It'll be kind of a mix in the upstate and northeast Georgia, most likely. And if we do start to see any hazardous road conditions, they should start by around Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, we'll start the day with some hazardous road conditions possible, but then Sunday afternoon, it's likely that the roads could be a little bit icy out there. Dicey, icy, whichever word you want to use. They're both mean the same thing in this case. But I think by Sunday afternoon, we could definitely see some big snow totals up in the mountains, especially because it'll be snowing for all morning and for most of the afternoon as well. Again, it's hard to say exactly what that range will look like. Conservatively, I would say, at least 3 to 6 inches. Bare minimum, 3 to 6 inches. The amounts could certainly be higher than that based on the way the low is tracking, the strength of the low, etc. So we'll obviously be fine-tuning that forecast, especially by Friday is when I think we'll actually be able to give some pretty specific snow total forecasts. So be on the lookout for that. And just to show you, everybody knows what to do leading up to winter weather. Some people, are new to the South and some people may be new to winter storms in general. They don't happen too often around here. But the thing is with southern winter storms, it usually is kind of this mishmash of freezing rain and sleet and snow. So one thing you definitely could do to help prepare is non-perishable food items if you haven't brushed up on that. It's almost like a pun nowadays, but milk and bread are usually the things that people go to. That may be not necessarily what you want. You may want canned foods just in case, because, bread and milk are great, but, you want cans of food. Ideally, non-perishable items are better because in the event that you lose power, you want to be able to eat something quickly that's not going to go bad. So ideally, non-perishable foods are great. Again, if a first aid kit in your car would be really helpful as well. If you do, heaven forbid, if you get stuck on the roads and you end up in an accident, you want to have that first aid kit on you just in case. But ideally, we're advising that you don't travel Sunday afternoon because there's certainly a chance there that the roads could be slick. And just make sure before you go to bed Saturday night that all your devices are charged up. In the event that we get sleet or freezing rain that accumulates on surfaces, especially power lines, some power outages is certainly possible. And obviously, if the power does go out, you need to be able to see. So flashlights and batteries are great as well. So that's the latest. If you guys have any questions, about what else we could expect, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. I'll try to scroll through and see if there's any good specific questions. But for now, still 3 or 4 days out. We can only really tell you, the broader picture of what we're expecting here. So we'll obviously be fine-tuning the forecast. Be sure to check back. We'll obviously need to kind of adjust the forecast accordingly. Exactly that line of where the transition will happen. We'll maybe need to adjust that as well. But the closer you get to a potential event, the better idea you have, the more accurate the forecast is going to be. So definitely a time where you need to check back for updates. But that's it. We'll obviously have another update coming up for you on WYFF News 4 at 11. And that's it for now. Until then, have a great night, everybody, and stay safe. And remember to prepare accordingly for this weekend winter storm. Take care.